Summer routines live or die by how easy they are, and honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Grüns is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Grüns.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
From the kids to Aunt Sue. Keep your whole family connected on all their devices with crowd-pleasing gig-speed internet from Xfinity. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Go online, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit today. Restrictions apply. Actual speed vary and not guaranteed.
Welcome back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network. You can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. What a crowd. We have Russo's mom. We have the great Louie Nanne. We have our regulars. We have some new faces here. We're at Tin Shed Tavern in Savage. We're going to tell you about their specials later. Let's start here, though. Tell me about the time, Michael Russo, you had to help Louie Nanne sign up for Twitter.
Well, yeah. That was... I have pictures and everything to document it. My favorite one, actually, do you remember when you weren't used to the fact that like things would pop up on likes and you like 7 months later say, thanks, Mike, but it's not my birthday, and I wrote it back. And I'm like, I actually wrote that to you on your birthday back in June, like 7 months ago. That was fun. But yeah, no, Louis was sitting in the press lounge at Xcel Energy Center, and he and I were talking, and he was asking me a lot about Twitter, and I helped him set it up. So that'll be my claim to fame forever, is that pictures of teaching Louis how to set up his Twitter account, how to tweet. It was a work in progress, but now you're a professional.
Hold it a minute. He's making it sound like I was interested in getting on Twitter, which I wasn't. I said, what is with all this Twitter? He said, you should be on it. I said, no, I don't want to be on it. It's too difficult. I don't understand. He said, let me see your phone in a second. I had my phone. Next thing I know, I was on Twitter.
Yeah.
And that's how it ended. Now, and here, I don't know, it's probably 2-3 years later, I still don't know how to get to people. In fact, last week I was trying to just tell it to someone individually, and I don't know how to get there. So I need another crash course here.
Well, even today, like I sent you said, hey, can you send me directions from Edina? And I'm like, well, how about I just send you the address and you could GPS it? But I just, it kind of reminded me like back in the day, like before I would go on a road trip with, the Panthers or whoever, you'd actually, like before smartphones, you had to actually go to the printer and you'd have to print out, airport to arena to practice facility to hotel, and you'd have to do that for the entire trip. So that's kind of what I did for Louis today.
Well, if you come in my car, that's what I have out right now. Printed out how to get here. It's like you're talking about.
Oh, man.
This is the Russo-Souhan show. Tonight it's the Russo-Nanne show. I'm sorry, the Nanne Russo show. Let's get
Two
things
great
right
Italians.
We're laying up already.
This is part of the TalkNorth.com podcast network. We are live at Tin Shed. I always struggle with that. The Tin Shed Tavern in Savage. I got it right. Check it out. TinShedSavage.com. We have a bunch of specials to tell you about. Thanks to our sponsors, Twill and the Edina Galleria, FixologyRepair.com, Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin, and Bite Squad. Tell you about Tin Shed starting Monday, June 3rd. They're going to have buy one, get one free pizza Mondays, any size, any toppings all day long. Kids 12 and under eat free all day, every day. 50% off lunch deal Monday through Friday, 11 to 1. Entire food menu is 50% off the purchase of any beverage. They have other specials we'll get to later.
You want to announce our next 2 live shows?
Yeah, we are also planning to have our next 2 live shows here at Tin Shed on June 12th, 7 o'clock. We're going to try at 7 o'clock starting time because of the traffic, see how that works for everybody. As you see up here, we do have a suggestion jar where you can drop in suggested starting times. We're going to kind of experiment with it until we find what's best for most people. Brian, the owner, is also giving away wild season tickets. Again, you can fill it out, put it in the fishbowl, and he will contact you if you win. But I do have a philosophical question.
June 12th and then June 19th is going to be our 200 shows.
No,
so we got to come up. All right, no?
June 12th. 7 o'clock is the next live show. June 26th, because we're both out of town. June 26th will be our
200th show.
200th show. So actually, June's going to be a month of celebrations. June 12th is Michael Russo's 29th birthday.
Yeah.
And June 26th will be our 200th show together. If we can make it that far, we'll see how it goes.
We'll have to come up with some good some things to do on that 26th show.
We'll give something away. I don't know what.
Could you imagine having to do the show at Jim for 200 shows, Louis?
I'm just in my mind calculating. We're talking about 4 years, or if you're
Pretty
doing
much,
one a week.
Yeah, pretty much 4 years and pretty much every week.
I'm not too happy about that. That means 4 years have gone by quickly. I remember when you started.
Yeah.
That's really, really fast. I can't believe that. That's
The older we get, the faster time goes. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'm not sure congratulations is the right word, but I'll take it.
I don't know who I'm congratulating of you too.
You're congratulating Brandon for surviving 4 years
Yeah,
with
seriously,
us.
Brandon's the one that deserves the medal.
So Mom's
And
here.
Vicky.
Tell me about Mom. How was Burberry's today?
Everything was fine until the 45 minutes at Burberry. So
what'd you buy her?
well, she bought herself a sweater. So we went to the Mall of America because we went up to Fixology Repair.
There you go.
John Hedges fixed a couple watches for us. My mom's, one of her watches needed a new battery, and mine needed to just kind of be recalibrated. And John Hedges was absolutely awesome as usual. And then we walked around the mall, went to Burberry Forever, and got a couple coffees. Mom's like, can't we just sit here and drink the coffee? I'm like, no, we can't sit. We got to walk around the mall. I'm not sitting to drink the coffee in the food court. We're going to sit there for like 25 minutes. We've been sitting all day.
Well, you thought she was taking you to Blueberries. That's
I
why
know,
you went.
exactly.
You don't want to spend as much on buying her some Burberry.
By the way, Mom, he spent $2,000 last week on a piece of exercise equipment he will never use, so he should be spending more money on you. Okay, good.
Yeah, it is
That'll be
coming
a big
tomorrow.
day.
Yep. So it's been a cool 3 days. Brother and my nephew's coming tomorrow with his wife, and that'll be fun for the next 3 days. So whole family vacation this week.
Good
at
for
the
you.
new pad.
Let's ask the philosophical question now. How many people does it take to put a license plate on Michael Russo's car?
Well, I almost hired out.
I was going to say, I think it's Michael and how many people he hires to put his own license plate on his car because he can't do it.
I figured it out. It just
Did
took
you?
a little while.
You told me you were worried.
I've never put one on my car, so it must be an Italian thing.
He told me he was going to hire out to put his license plate on.
Yeah.
Well, I do.
Yeah.
Well, give him a name then.
Well,
Help the guy out.
last time I did it was at a tire dealer. I just walked in. I said, "You got any wrench in here that can put license plates on?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, here's a license plate. Go ahead and do it."
Yeah.
I tip him a little bit, and that's it.
Yeah. See, that's the key. The tip.
See, high living. I will never get there, but
No,
it's fun to be in the presence of people who live the way you do.
I just work hard to have other people do things
There you go.
I can't do, which is anything mechanical or with. Every year, and my wife will still tell you this, from when I was playing, I used to go on. Once I was playing in Boston, and I got hit with a puck in the nose, and my nose was smashed, and they took me to Massachusetts eye, ear, and throat, and it was an afternoon game. So they sat me down. They said, "Well, we got to operate on it tomorrow morning." I said, No. You do it now because I got a flight at 7 o'clock. We're going to Philadelphia. And I had a gift certificate for Bond clothes, and I was going to retire. It was my last trip to Philly, $200 certificate. I was going to be on that plane. So they put the thing in my nose and straightened it all out, and it was like firecrackers going off in my head. So the next day I went to the game, and they wouldn't let me play. In those days we didn't have face masks and helmets, so they wouldn't let me play. So in between periods they asked me to go on television, which I did. My face, now you got to remember, now I got a slap shot in the nose. So half my face is just disfigured. And I went on television after the game, and my wife said to me, "How could you go on TV looking like that?" When I called her, I said, "Did you see what I got for you?" They gave me a drill set for her. So I always got I've been getting my wife tools forever. I got her hacksaw. I got her, a tool set. I got her drills. She's got all the stuff, and really, she does do everything.
Well, my friend Brian here has offered up his wife Karen. So anytime I need like snow blowing, landscaping, Karen's going to come over with the lawnmower and everything and take care of that.
I really admire those people that are good at doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You admire them or you hire them?
Yeah. I do both. You're right. Take the hire and add it to admire, and that's what I do.
Well, I do remember when I was a kid and I first got my license. I asked my mom, like, what do I do if the tire's flat? And she said, call AAA.
That's right.
I was not taught how to change a tire, change a light bulb, fix anything. That's the way it was.
My wife actually, before I came here, changed 3 light bulbs away. I held her still on the ladder, and she did it. That's what I did just before I came here.
Who says romance is dead?
Yeah. So where are you going? You got to have some big trip coming up, Louis. I know you do.
Well, next week I got to go to London and from business, and from there they have a University of Minnesota, one of the Big Ten schools. All the Big Ten schools send a representative, either an athlete or a professor. And I'm the professor from Minnesota, and we're going from Rome to Positano to Sicily to Malta, to Spain, Barcelona, cruise, and then we're going to end up in Monte Carlo. And so Vern Lundquist is going to do the moderating of the panel, which is good.
He's great.
Yeah, and there's that Narwis or something was on KFAN with Brero 2 weeks ago. He wrote a book about Obama. He's written a couple of books, and he's an editor for Washington Post. He's going to be Wisconsin's representative. I didn't look at all of them, but we have, the Oceana is a nice small ship, 600 people.
Wow, nice.
And so we just got to do something when we're at sea, and it'll be a nice cruise.
That's cool. You.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some hockey. First, let me thank our primary sponsor, Twill and the Edina Galleria. Been with us for a long time. They've been great to us. Scott Dayton's a cool guy. Went there and bought some stuff the other day. Brax pants. If you go there, look at the Brax pants. They're incredibly comfortable. TwillMN.com. Twill in the Edina Galleria.
Great family, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great families. Dad was a very close friend of mine.
Oh, great.
And his
Scott's
mother
great.
And brothers. I mean, he does a wonderful job there at Twill.
He absolutely does.
Jim usually doesn't like to shop for clothes. I don't like it when he shops for clothes either, because he used to buy stuff I'd want to throw out. That's why I'm so glad he's found Twill in the Edina Galleria. He likes shopping there because of the comfortable environment and the friendly staff. He finds clothes that actually fit him properly and are high-quality brands that will look great for years, whether he's golfing or working. Our favorites so far are Peter Millar, Johnny O, and Barber. We spend our money at Twill because we love the clothes and we love the no-pressure shopping. Drop by Twill in the Edina Galleria for the best shopping experience and best clothes you'll find in the Twin Cities.
All right, Michael, you broke the news. Zucker for Kessel, and it didn't go through.
Yeah,
so
kibosh.
Take us through the whole thing.
Well, I mean,
and Lou, feel free to jump in whenever you like.
Yeah, and it's just. I think that the big thing here is that Zucker's being shot pretty much everywhere. But suddenly, I think that the belief inside the organization that they need to get a right shot, right wing, and a goal scorer has suddenly put Phil Kessel on the radar. And it was much to the chagrin of some people inside the organization, which is really coincidental. And I think a lot of people advised Paul against it. And he still went forward for it, and now it's come out where he's put a nix on the trade, and the reason why is because Phil has looked at the lineup, especially the rebuilt lineup, and just doesn't think that they're close to winning a cup. There's a couple reasons why he doesn't want to keep him here, but that is the big one. So what's really ticked off some people in the organization is that they advised Paul not to do this, and now all of a sudden they kind of look stupid this way. The biggest concern that I have, Louis, is does everybody around the league that Paul goes after this summer start to look at the Wild in the same realm? I mean, this is not the same team. Last summer the big edict was tweak, tweak, tweak. They're a tweak away from the Cup. And now all of a sudden he's looking to he's pretty much overhauled the lineup, and Zucker's next. So in a span of maybe 6 months, they're going to get rid of Niederreiter, Coyle, Granlund, and Zucker. And that is eye-opening to a lot of free agents that want to win a Cup.
There's no doubt that when somebody of note turns you down, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to make sure doesn't happen. In fact, that's the only problem with going after someone that's got a a limited no trade clause that now it becomes public
Yeah.
when you try and get them to move somewhere different.
Yep.
And one of the things that you always want to do, in fact, when I traded Bobby Smith, he'd come in and we'd gone through this for about 6 months, and finally came in and says, look, either you get rid of me or I'm quitting, I'll go to school. He said, you paid me enough money, you know my brother graduated with your brother, I will go to education, but I'm not staying here. First thing I said to him, after I said, okay, one condition. He said, what's that? I said, you don't tell anybody you want to be traded because it hurts your ability to negotiate a higher package. People don't realize you're up against it. You've got to trade the guy or bad things could happen. And that's the one thing you want to be very guarded about. And trades, and it happens all the time. When I was general manager and all the way through to today, it's going to come out that people are getting traded. But the one thing you don't want to do is go after somebody that you want that doesn't want to come and makes it a statement about that. That hurts you a bit. You're going to find opportunities to trade people, and they might close, and it's going to get out that you discuss trade. That's not uncommon. But when someone turns you down, that just sort of sets a precedent. You got to make sure that doesn't hurt you and become a negative when you're trying to deal for somebody else, because now obviously you're going to go after free agents and they have a choice where to go, and you want to make certain that people look at you as a place to come, like Suter and Parisi did when they first came here.
So, the big thing here is that, and I've talked to, and this is, I'm not trying to scare Wild fans, but this is a true thing, is that, I've talked to a lot of agents in the last couple of weeks that have talked in the same way that Phil has, and I think that there's a lot of people that are looking at this organization right now as being a bit of a mess, and all of a sudden now you don't have really quality players that were here, and I think that there are going to be a lot of agents that are going to advise their clients like, hey, this is a better situation, and that is what the Wild are up against, and this is kind of why the last last couple of months I've been warning that I could see Paul striking out this summer, and so trades to me are the only way that he could do it. For some reason, he decided to go after somebody with a no trade clause, not knowing that the Wild weren't on his list. And now I think he just assumed. I know that he said to Kessel, how you're from Minnesota, you're from Wisconsin. Why don't you want to play here? And Phil's like, I don't want to play here. And I think it just shocked him. I think he thought anybody just automatically wants to play in Minnesota. And, he's selling a lot of these young guys like Ryan Donato and Kevin Fiala. And, look, Phil Kessel plays with Crosby and Malkin. He's not moved by Kevin Fiala and Ryan Donato. I can promise you. And so, and that's just a fact. And so now the other part of this is that it's, as one agent said to me this week, it's bad for business that it is so known that he is trying to trade Zucker to everywhere. That's the other perception right now, is players feel around the league that the Wild are not treating their guys right. And that's another issue. I mean, this is now twice, and it's not Paul's fault on this one, but it's now twice that it is known that he had a deal done for Jason Zucker, and he was not traded. And now all of a sudden, Zucker's sitting here and feeling completely alienated, and I could tell you for a fact that Zucker just at this point, he'd welcome a trade. He wants to go where he's wanted. He doesn't feel wanted by this GM.
Louis, we talk about this all the time. What's your assessment of the franchise, where it is right now, Paul Fenton performance, and also just the predicament he's in?
Well, I said a couple of years ago that.
Well, I'm trying to set you up to say whatever you want to say about it.
No, but what I'm saying is, I don't think that the team's a mess, as Michael just stated. I know where he's coming from, but I don't call it a mess when you got to go through growth pains. And one of the things I said a couple of years ago, and I felt very strongly about, they had a lot of success here, a great deal of success. They were very unlucky to not have moved on in the playoffs. They should have gotten farther, and it wasn't. You gotta have equal goaltending, and you gotta have good goaltending if you're gonna move on. That's always the key. But they had really good teams, but really good teams grow and get older. And 2 years ago is when I started saying, I like this team, but when you assess a team and you look at it, you got to move earlier than later. And so I'm not surprised or upset that they have to make changes, because that's what you have to do.
But would you have done every one at once? I mean, we obviously know that
this year I'm not would have done those.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's the thing that I think has shocked everybody, is that he is about to trade his fourth of this core all at once.
Well, I
why does he have to do everything in 1 year?
Well, not only that's not what bothered me as much as the four that went, because when you're saying you got to change, if you look at the team and you're going to build, what do you say? We're going to build on our good young players. Well, that's the good young players that got traded. Yeah. Now you don't, when you make a deal, I don't mind making the trade and someone going elsewhere like Niederreiter and played tremendous. But Niederreiter's had a history of being very good. But you don't mind that a player you trade plays real good, as long as the player you get back plays better than the guy you moved for you. And now that's going to be tough to do, because even though Niederreiter was in a bit of a slump, you got to look at the whole record. And everybody's going to go through slumps at times. And you got to make sure you get someone that's as productive as Niederreiter was over the whole time, not over the short time, because people come out of slumps. If you're a goal scorer, you're going to come out of it. If you're not a goal scorer, you're not going to score. Charlie Coyle is not a goal scorer, so he's not going to come out of it. If Charlie Coyle gets you 20 goals a year, and I love Charlie Coyle as a player, but you got to look at what is Charlie Coyle. 20 goals at best, because he doesn't shoot. He's very good with the puck. He's very strong on the boards with the puck. He competes. I'd like him to be meaner, but he's not. And I'd like him to shoot more, which he doesn't. But he is what he is, and so that's why he fits in so well with Boston. Because he doesn't have to be the key guy. He doesn't have to be the most productive. But he does contribute in a large way where he is. So if you want someone to score more, you get, Donato, he come back and he really did very well for us. Now, Donato's going to have to continue to do that to be better than Charlie Coyle, because Donato is capable of scoring. I love the way he skates and shoots, and I love the way things shoot first. But what is he not going to give you? He's not going to give you the ability to check like Coyle. He's not going to give you the ability to win pucks like Coyle. So you balance that off by what you're getting. So Donato continues to score because he's been streaky everywhere. When he started with Boston, when he came here, and in the minors just for a while and after. So he's going to have to produce at a more consistent level, but he looks like he can. Now, you trade Granlund, who was the best player on the team at the time. I mean, and Granlund, again, he's going to be more of a setup man, but he gives you so many good things: power play, shorthanded, everything else. Now, Paul Fenton feels he can score 35 goals a year. Well, if he scores 30 goals a year, that's going to be a very good trade, because you're looking for goal scorers. They need goal scorers. That's what he's got to bank on. Fiala produces. If he doesn't produce, then you've given up three of your best players that were young. And that's the quandary. That's why when you go to free agency right now, I wouldn't be so bothered by the fact that he might miss out on some of the key free agents because they might be older. Mm-hmm. You got to go for some of the younger free agents, even if they're not as productive, because you got to get guys that are going to be around for a while. Now, I love Kessel to have him on the team, but would I want him for Zucker? No. And even though Kessel got 82 points and Zucker might have 45 or 50, Kessel's not going to get 82 points here.
No way.
Because he doesn't have Crosby or Malkin. So you're giving up 5 years, and he will help you get in the playoffs. So if your goal is to make the playoffs first, then yeah, I could see getting Kessel. But if your goal is to build to the Stanley Cup, then you got to make sure you're getting a younger guy back for Zucker that produces.
Before you respond to that, tell us about your visit to Fixology today.
Yeah, I went down to Fixology, saw John Hedges. He fixed a couple of watches. Absolutely just awesome place right in the Mall of America. And just now opening up his third location in St. Paul downtown. He'll have more information about that this month. He's also got the place in downtown Minneapolis. But again, I just walked in there today and just showed up with a couple of watches to fix, and he did it within the hour. It was pretty awesome.
And John Hedges usually comes to live shows, but he usually likes to ride the green line. We're not quite on the green line here in Savage.
And he just got back from Ireland, so I think he's a little tired.
So hopefully we'll see him soon, though. But, usually we run a recorded ad. I just wanted to tell you, he's got the place downtown Minneapolis in the Skyway, right above Crown Bank. He's got the place third floor of Mall of America by Nordstrom's, and he has the new location opening up in downtown St. Paul. And Mike and I take our stuff there. They'll sell you a watch, fix the watch, fix your devices, pretty much anything you need. They have a lot of cool accessories that are great, especially around the holidays. So check it out, fixologyrepair.com. Also,
he just to show, so he opened up my Breitling, and I got to see the inside of it, which was pretty neat.
Oh, cool.
But he puts it on. So my Breitling has been like I've been telling him that for the last couple months that every week I have to kind of reset it. It like loses 5 minutes. So he puts it on this machine and found that every day it goes down negative 15 seconds. So he was able to kind of recalibrate that to back to even. So it's pretty. Hopefully that fixed the trick. So
he just said that's an excuse for being late.
It was pretty cool to see the innards of this thing, though. Nice.
One of my favorite watches, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I wish I could afford them.
Someday, if you're Michael Russo, you can afford them.
Niederreiter is part of that Breitling, nautical club, or I forget what it's called. I've written about it 1,000 times. So this summer, I'm going to be out in Switzerland. He's going to come down to Lucerne, where I think his girlfriend lives, and hopefully he'll bring me a couple of Breitlings with it. Now that I don't cover him, I think I can take them.
And a reminder, we are at the Tin Shed in Savage. Next live show, June 12th at 7 o'clock. June 12th at 7 o'clock. And I told you about some of their specials. They also have a new 2-for-1 happy hour. I know that Vicky's enjoying that right now. Monday through Friday, 2 through 6. Every day, 9 p.m. to close. 2-for-1 on most draft pints, all bottled beers, most single mixed cocktails, along with $5 on select appetizers. Reminder about this place, they have the NFL Sunday Ticket. They are a home to the Buffalo Bills and Green Bay Packers fan clubs. They have pull tabs. They have 3 party rooms with arcade games, which are right over there to the right of us right now. Great for birthday parties, team parties, or corporate events. And their website is tinshedmn.com. tinshedmn.com for deals, upcoming sporting events, or to book a party. And we appreciate them hosting us. Let's. It's kind of weird timing because the game 2 is about to start of the Stanley Cup Finals. But what do you make? Are there any lessons to be learned from the 2 teams that have qualified here?
Lee?
Well, I'll tell you right now. Every time somebody wins the Stanley Cup, people look at their teams, they analyze it, and say, "What are we going to do different?" You know what you're going to see now? You're going to go back to bigger physical players next year. That's definitely coming. Because guys are thinking these series have been so physical, you better be strong enough to withstand it. Which, to me, when I look at the game, what surprised me in the first game, even though St. Louis started out real well, they haven't hit the defense of Boston, especially the 3 smaller guys, Clifton, Krug, and Grzelcyk.
Well, he tried beating up Krug the other day, and he went out and killed somebody.
That's just tossing them around. I'm talking about running them. And running them good because you could.
The way the crew did, Thomas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think I would expect more of that because the one difference that St. Louis could make in that game, Boston, when they're moving that puck out of their zone quickly, they're tough to beat. So if you give them problems doing that, even McAvoy's not that big. I would expect, if I was coaching that team, the forwards got to make sure they hit hard. And on the forecheck, and that could help them a great deal.
And they did that in really the 3 previous series, but especially against San Jose. I mean, they absolutely punished San Jose, destroyed them. They had wound up with 5-6 injuries by the end of that series.
We do have a mic up by Brandon. If you want to ask questions, please fire away. While you're all fighting over the mic, I will ask Mike Modano. He comes in on the business side. Is there anything more to this move than meets the eye? And just what are your experiences with Mike as a guy?
At the outset, there's not more than meets the eye, but he's doing exactly what I think the Wild should have him do starting off. And if you want to make a parallel to it, you look at Phil Esposito in Tampa. The most popular player, the most popular individual because he brought the team there and everybody loves him. And he's so good and gregarious, outgoing personality, charismatic, developed great relationships in the community and really helped solidify the tie between the sponsors, advertisers, and everything else with the team. I think this was a fantastic move by the Wild. I think Mike one of the reasons why we thought so highly of him, besides the unbelievable talent, was the ability to connect with people, the charisma he's got, the electricity he generates when he's in the building playing, and the connection he gets with the fans. And he can do the same thing with sponsors, fans, advertisers, etc. I think it was a great move by the Wild. Now, if I'm general manager, coach of that team, and I got Mike McDaniel sitting there, and I see my centers are having a problem, say with face-offs or something that Mike's good at, I'm not too proud to say, Michael, can you come down here for a practice or two and have a talk with this guy or impart some of your ability? It's just like when you're making a trade. If I'm making a trade, I never would make a trade without talking to everybody in the organization. I had scouts, coaches, everybody else. Now, at the end of the day, I still got to pull the trigger. I got to make the final decision. But you never know what you're going to get from input from somebody else. So now when you got somebody else like Madonna there, that's what you want to do. Like one day, I'll never forget, Worsley called me and he says, Louis, did we trade Beaupre? I said, what are you talking about? He said, the guy just told me we traded Beaupre. I said, Gump, did I call you? He said, no. He said, that's what I told the guys. No way he would have traded Beaupre or anybody without talking to me. And that's what you get from people. So you don't have to, I wouldn't be, if I'm the coach, I'm not too proud to say, or sit down with Mike and say, give me some thoughts on this, that, and any little bit of knowledge you can gain is an asset. And so I think that, you might see some of that happening. At least I know if I was around there, it would be happening.
And Michael, I know, from my limited experience covering the NHL, every time I went up to Madonna, he was fantastic.
Yeah, no, he's awesome. And I mean, I'm excited about this because I've always had a really good relationship with him. And it's, it's been good for the last, since kind of he and I have been chatting for the last 5-6 months, I'm just excited to have him, and I totally agree with Louis. I just think it would be foolish if you have a Hall of Famer in the organization not to not use him in all assets. Get him on the ice, work with the Eriksson Necks, have him talk to the Greenways, and that, by the way, has started. He's been texting with a guy like Greenway really since he met him back in. I believe it was. I can't remember when I first wrote that first story, January or February. And also, if you're Paul Fenton, to get to Louis' point, I just think that Paul should take advantage of that knowledge and talk to a guy and say, hey, what do your buddies say about this? What do you think about this guy? He doesn't have to be your advisor or the president of Hockey House, but it could be just another person that you talk to. And I do think that Paul needs to do a better job of that. So trades like Victor Rask don't happen, where just on a whim they call up Carolina and Carolina within 2 seconds, like, yeah, we'll do Nino for a guy that they were going to buy out at the end of the year. The Wild hadn't even scouted him. He did no due diligence on him. It just happened. A thought at their meetings in January, and it just happens. And so this is the type of thing that Paul, I think, needs to improve on. And Mike is somebody that I think he should lean on.
It's really interesting, too, in this town, but really across the country, you hear the word collaborative all the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those new buzzwords, and you can always, we hate buzzwords, right? It sounds like it's a fad or a trend or a cliche, but you look at the Twins, the way they do things. I mean, they gather a massive amount of information before they make any decision. They talk to everybody. Cheryl Reeve has all the power in the Lynx organization, general manager and coach. She says she doesn't make a decision until everybody in the room has come to a consensus agreement.
I was talking to a assistant GM yesterday in the league that told me that the Wild have 6 scouts at the Combine right now, which is about half of what every other team has.
Wow.
And their one scout with the most experience has 6 years, and the guy leading the whole thing has 1 year, and that's PJ Fenton. It's just, this is the type of stuff that is a major problem, they need to build out this front office, this scouting staff, and get back to the point where they have good people to, for him to give information, and he's got to accept that type of information. Back to Madonna, I did want to ask Louis, I did that Madonna story the other day, and you told me the great Gordon Gunn story about his wife when you brought him and Trevor Linden into Traverse City. You want to repeat that story?
Well, we were getting ready for the draft. We had our scouting meetings, and we had them in Traverse City, the Grand Traverse Hotel. And I flew in both Madonna and Trevor Linden for our scouts to talk to. And we spent a couple days with them. And Gordon Gunn came with his wife Luli and George Gunn. So our owners were there. And they participated in interviews and the dinners and meeting with them. And then on the way back, Gordon Gunn had his plane there, so Lyndon was going from Detroit nonstop to Vancouver, and we're in Traverse City, and Mike lived in Detroit. So I asked Gordon, you want to take them back to Detroit and drop them off? He said, sure. So he dropped them off at the airport. Lyndon could catch his plane, and Modano was home. And so they had, Luli and Gordon had a little more time with Modano and Lyndon. Now you have to remember, you're going back to when these kids are just turning 18. And if you knew Modano at the time, Modano wouldn't talk. He was almost introverted,
And he looked
very
like he was
shy.
12 years
he
old.
looked like very well put, Jimmy. That's exactly right. 12 at the most. And Lyndon was already a developed individual, and so, and by the way, we had done testing. We were the first team to start psychological testing, and I had a group from Des Moines who does a Gallup poll. They set up tests for us. And we were really testing for a number of things. The most important thing was elongated time, which means you see the game in slow motion. Like Ted Williams, they say, see this, spins on the laces. And like I tell people, Gretzky plays the game from the press box, I played it from the ice. Everything is slower, and the great players all play the game at a slower pace, in their mind. And the game's played slower. So we had that test, but another one was leadership and abilities to lead a team and have those kind of characteristics. And really surprising to us at the time was Modano scored even higher than Lyndon on leadership, because when you looked at him and you talked to him at the time, you don't detect that because he was so introverted. Anyway, so we had all these things, and our guys, we really loved the charisma, and we weren't, we were not selling very many season tickets. We had to build a fan base. And so, remember the words I said to Gordon, this guy will bring you out of your seats. He'll change the feeling in the building. That's one of the things we had to do. But Luli Gund, who's a wonderful lady, and was spending time with the boys. And of course, Lyndon, very outgoing, and he got great leadership capabilities, and he was a great player. So Gordon called me the next day. He says, who we taking? I said, we're taking Modano. And he said, Luli really likes Lyndon even better. And I said, well, I hope she still likes Lyndon after we take Modano, because we're taking Modano. and he said, no, I stay out of it. That's not a problem. He said, I keep asking everybody to get their opinion, but I told you guys before, you're running the draft, even though, I said I'm resigning. After the draft, I'm done. He said, we'll make no changes. You're running it. That's it. So
I will tell you one thing that has been a policy for me running this podcast network is we do not give psychological tests to the co-hosts.
No. That would be something.
That would be a
I
new
don't want to
low.
know any more than I already know.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks to Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent who works out of Champlin. It's Hoaglund, insurance and financial services. Just Google him. Tony, Hoaglund. He handles my insurance. He handles Michael's insurance.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoaglund. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number one in car insurance since World War II and number one in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
I think we're
And
going to open
finally,
up to
we have
questions.
Vicky. Vicky, you're just the suspense was killing me. We're waiting for your questions and for Philip Callenber's questions. Anybody else who has your email addresses questions?
I'm going to wait on Philip's questions, because how do you think the coach is going to feel about Mike coming in with his input? I suspect he will welcome it, but is that an issue?
No, it's not an issue at all. One of the things about great coaches also want to pick everybody's brain. I can tell you, I talked to Lemaire after he worked with Babcock on the Olympic teams and stuff like that. Jacques and I spent a lot of time, discussing Mike Babcock's style. And Babcock was constantly asking Jacques about what to do here, there, and everywhere else. When you're confident in your own ability, you don't feel threatened by getting information from somebody else. It's really it's a characteristic that I will tell you every great coach has. that they also want to know what everybody else thinks because they don't want to miss anything. And they're not so cocky and put out that they feel threatened by somebody else giving them some suggestions.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because I think Coach Boudreau is great.
Yeah.
So
Well, and it's to his point. Remember on the previous regime how sensitive they were when Adam Oates was working with Zach Parise.
I remember.
Bruce, when he got here, he told Zach, he goes, continue using him, but just don't do it like secretly behind the back. I mean, even he could come to practice type thing. I think that's a sign of a coach that has no issue with that. So.
Well, I'm hoping too that Mike be able to get into the locker room.
Maybe play.
Yeah, well, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen. But I think with the quote-unquote locker room issues going
No,
on.
I don't know. I would tell you this: you don't want Mike coming in the locker room. That's a different situation, and you don't you might one time have him address it, an overall general feeling or how to be a pro or something. But no, you're willing and able to have a guy come down and impart some knowledge to a player on the ice during practice, but you don't make him part of the locker room talk at all and really part of the overall operation in the locker room.
Yeah, I think on the ice, what Louis is saying is that if you have a guy like Modano and that type of thing, have him talk. If there's players that are having issues, if what's he seeing from above about their games, get him on the ice, work face-offs with Eric Sinek, those type of things. Not getting in the locker room and saying, straightening it out.
That's where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
So.
No, I get it. Trust me.
Yeah. No, I think he's going to be a great asset on the golf course with our corporate people.
That will be. I know I played with him, man. He hits it out of sight. He's something.
I have two quick fill-up questions.
Okay.
This is an NHL question, not a specific Wild one. Okay. In light of what GM coach Bob Murray did in Anaheim, has there been an owner who doubled as the GM?
Has there been an owner that doubled as a GM?
Not in the present day.
Yeah, not that I can think.
Way back when, Conn Smythe, I think, at one time he doubled, and I'm talking back in the 30s and 40s.
Did Mario ever have input? I'm sure he had input into some of the moves, but he wasn't the GM of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Robitaille, doesn't he have he has a little bit of an ownership stake, doesn't he, in the Kings, or am I wrong on that?
Well, it might be something. I don't know that he does now.
Yeah. Gretzky coach owner.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And assuming Koivu returns and takes on his responsibilities against opposing top lines, do you think it would track to pair him with the likewise defensively strong forward Foligno?
Is he trying to say put him on the fourth line? Is that what he's saying? I mean, Foligno can't. Look, I like Marcus. I think we've seen him when he plays up. He's not going to ever be Tom Wilson. Foligno's in a good place where he is in the lineup. If Mikko's playing with Foligno, it's because he's been downgraded to the fourth line, which look out. Yeah.
Got it.
I think he had locker room issues before.
Thank you, Vic.
All right,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thanks a lot.
It's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Reminder, Bite Squad sponsors the entire network. BiteSquad.com. Download the Bite Squad app. They deliver breakfast. They deliver lunch, including to your office. Dinner, obviously. We prefer you come out to Tin Shed to eat, but if you can't get out or you're elsewhere in the metro, use Bite Squad. Use the promo code TALKNORTH for your first delivery fee waived. And keep using them after that because they've been really good to us, thanks to Bite Squad. No more live questions. It's a big crowd.
Come on.
Everybody's so shy.
This could be your only opportunity.
I'll fire out a Twitter question from Chris Janos. From Chris Janos, what interaction was there, if any, between Suter or Fiala with Kaprizov?
That one I don't know. I will tell you this. It's interesting to me. So Dan Milstein, who's a very talkative agent, I emailed him to to try to confirm the fact that maybe Paul Fenton met with Kaprizov over there, and he didn't write me back, which makes me think there might be something to that. Because I know that Paul at least was going over there and hoping to do it, but it gets a little tricky there. This is a situation where if all of a sudden Team Russia knows that Kaprizov's meeting with the Wild GM, it could have repercussions with Kaprizov. So If you remember when the World Juniors were here several years ago, the Wild wanted to meet with Kaprizov in Montreal, and Team Russia absolutely forbid the Wild from talking to him. So the Wild had to give his draft jersey to like his agent at the time, who's since been fired, and his girlfriend. So it's a tricky situation. I can't imagine Ryan Suter and Fiala and those guys were tasked with trying to recruit him, but my guess is that the Wild tried to that Fenton tried to get in front of Kaprizov to just continue to establish a relationship with the kid. So,
from our friend General Soreness on Twitter, if Zucker is moved, doesn't the return have to be a defenseman? Same as Spurgeon, wouldn't he have to bring back a forward? Not sure that moving a forward for another forward or a D for another D makes any sense. Do you guys agree?
I don't agree with that. I think it makes sense to try to get a forward for him, especially if you think that you might strike out in free agency. If he can use Zucker as an asset to get a top scoring forward, I absolutely think that's a path to go, no doubt about it. So,
He definitely need more scoring.
Yeah.
You don't trade a scorer for a defenseman. You don't fill a hole by creating another hole.
Exactly.
So you really have to look right now. If the Wild are going to make a trade, any kind of trade, what do they need the most? They need a scoring forward and preferably a centerman. They really need a young centerman that's going to be around for a while, that can produce points and score himself.
Yeah,
that's the first thing they need.
The Wild really love Christian Dvorak for the Arizona Coyotes. They came close to acquiring him last summer for a Zucker Niederreiter deal. I'm being told by really good Arizona sources that the Wild have no chance of pulling that off, but they would be willing to use Zucker in a package for Christian Fischer, who I'm sure who's coming off a weird year. Wasn't very good, but he's got a lot of upside. But again, I don't know him well enough. But a big, right shot forward and young and kind of foots the bill. But that's the other weird thing. It's like everything I hear, like they're talking to Calgary about Sam Bennett. It just seems like the value that they're using for Zucker, it's like nothing's equal. It's like they're going for, it's like William Nylander in Toronto, Phil Kessel here, Christian Fischer here, Sam Bennett here, Michael Frolik here, Brock Besser. It's like they're just the value, like it's just, and that's why it just seems like sometimes he's kind of, shooting from the hip with everything he's doing. So it's a weird situation right now.
From Ben Streeter, we remember Ben. How great a risk is it that Kaprizov doesn't come over next year if the team ends next year at the bottom of the division or the league?
Well, I mean, I always go back to I've got to think that he wants to play in the National Hockey League, and if he wants to play in the National Hockey League, the Wild own his rights, so he's got to come over. The thing is, there is that he's got to understand is he's cost himself a ton of money. By not signing his entry, like just say he signed his entry deal 2 years ago and he was coming off that 2-year deal now and he became the player that we all think he could have been these first 2 years in the NHL, what would be his second contract in a league where second contracts are absolutely monster? By him just signing that $1 million deal there each year, the amount of money that he has cost himself here is unbelievable that he will never get back. And now when he comes over here, he's got to sign that same contract. Like he's got to come over at the entry max, which, unless he's going to achieve his A bonuses, he's cost himself some cash.
There's no doubt about it. And the fact that they don't realize that it's not what you're costing yourself in the first year. Mm-hmm. It's what you're costing yourself at the maximum year.
Yeah.
Because it takes you longer to get to the maximum year. And I don't know how that ever happened, that this guy never realized that he should be playing in the National League, because I don't care what you tell me, everybody in the KHL that's any good wants to play in the National Hockey League, and they want to make more money in that, and it's something that's eventually going to happen. He's going to play in the National League, so the sooner he gets here, the better it's going to be for him.
I do think that there are pressures that Kaprizov was dealing with that I don't think any of us can relate to. It's a different world over there. He's a different type of player. The team he played for was different. He went to the World Championships 2 years ago. All of a sudden, this is Kirill Kaprizov, who had just led Team Russia with 9 goals in the World Juniors to lead the tournament a year before he leads them to a gold medal, and he's on Team Russia for the World Championships, doesn't play a single shift. What were they doing? They were holding him hostage. I just think there are pressures over there that we just don't understand on this behind the scenes stuff, because we're relating it to a free country, free Americans, that we could do whatever we want, where I don't think any of us, a perfect example is Valerie Bure. Pavel Bure has gone back and forth to Russia, but after Val Bure defected here when he was a teenager, I don't think to this day he's been back to Russia because he's so scared that he'd never be able to leave again.
Well, I had the same thing with Musil when I got him to the defect. He couldn't go back, and his father lost his job and the whole thing. But finally, when the curtain came down, and now he goes back, he scouts for Edmonton out of there. But for years, he couldn't go back, and his wife was his girlfriend. Then she was a top 10 tennis player in the world, so they'd meet here. But he knew, and it took a couple of years to get him to do that. But they knew what was going to happen when you're going to leave. You got to sacrifice some stuff, and even the family knows it might affect them, which it did. But this day and age, it's a little different. Even though they're holding him hostage, if he was getting good guidance, and really, he should have been in more contact with Wild and people from there, telling him, even though you might suffer this for the year, you might not play in the World Championships or whatever, you can come the year after. As long as you don't sign something, you're free to come. Because what they have now is different from Val Bure. They have a deal with the National League. They didn't have those deals before. The curtain for us finally came down in '87, and that's when you could deal with the Czechs and the Russians and stuff like that we didn't do before. So they have the benefit of being able to have something in place which allows these players to leave.
Brian Murray used to always tell me the story about him in the woods with the trunk of a car open, like trying to get guys like Konstantinov and Fedorov out there. Do you have any similar scary stories where you're in the middle of the woods in freaking Russia?
Well, it wasn't the woods, but when I got the word that he was, Musil had gone from Czechoslovakia to Umag, Yugoslavia, and this was in July, and he was in Umag, and I said, I'll be there tomorrow. So I got in a plane. Fortunate for me, my door was open. Bob Bruce was a broadcaster for Channel 5. And he hears that, and I come out and I said to Sue, get me a flight tomorrow morning right to to Trieste, because that's the Italian border. Yugoslavia was still communist at the time. So Bob Bruce says, I'm coming, I heard you. I said, you got to stay out of my way. I'll stay out of your way, I'm coming. So he came with a cameraman. Now, the three of us flew there. We get to Trieste. He was supposed to be in Umag, but he was going to Zagreb, which is the capital, and that's where we have a consulate. So I'm in Trieste, so I rent a car, a tourist car, and I drive it to Umag that night. Bruce and the cameraman came with me. I wanted to take a drive just to analyze, do I put them in the trunk? How do I get them out? Because you can't get them out. I got no visa. So I get to the Yugoslav border and on my way back, and they come out with the machine guns and everything else, the guards, and I jump out and try to give them a pin, see if I could soften them up with his, and then no. They just check the car and back in. So I'm looking at them checking the car. I'm thinking, well, how am I going to get by here? Well, they got the gate up, but then 50 yards past is the Italian gate. The guy's sleeping in the booth. He doesn't care, whatever. So I figure I'm putting Musil in the trunk, and it's slow down as I come in, and I'm going to just gun right through the deal, and that's it. So I'm all set. The next day I go there. I get to the consulate where I'm supposed to meet Musil, and he was there with Rich Winter.
Rich Winter, yeah.
And so I'm supposed to meet him at the consulate. I get there, and you go to the door, and they got bulletproof glass, the Marines behind it, and I said, I'm Lou Nanne from the Minnesota North Stars. I'm here to meet František Musil. He's a Czech hockey player that's going to defect. I'm taking him here. And they said, well, we don't know anything about it. I said, he came here. I talked to him yesterday. I talked to Winter. František's not great in English, but he was pretty good. We don't know anything about it. I says, you better find out who's in charge here. So he calls upstairs to the head of the consulate. And the guy says, no, you're here. And I sent him over to Belgrade. Well, in those days, it had what's called a reclamation place. And if you go there, then once you admit it, you have to stay 2 years. You can't get out. And I'm going nuts. Are you kidding me? He's on his way to Belgrade. I said, I got to talk to you. He said, no, I have no time. I said, well, then you better come down here and for a minute. We want to talk to you in camera. He said, what are you talking about? I said, I've got a cameraman here from ABC, and we want to put you on the air to say you won't have help an American in a communist country. Wait a minute, I'll settle down. I'll be right down. So he came down, and then I told him, I said, you can't allow that guy to, register in Belgrade. He said, okay, I'll get right in the phone. He said, what do you want to do? I says, I'm going to take him out tomorrow. He says, how? I said, well, I took a drive. I'm going to go through the gate and just go. He said, you nuts? You can't do that. He said, they'll be shooting at you and everything. Well, how else am I going to get him out? And he said, do you know any senators? I said, yeah. He said, well, you got to get a senator to get you this paper and have a contract signed. I said, give me your phone. Picked up the phone. I called Dernberger. He happened to be in his office in Washington. I said, Dave, you got to do me a favor. You got to do it. Listen to this guy. He'll tell you what to do. So the guy told him. And I hung up. I called my assistant, Sue Thomas, at the time, and I said, you got to take a contract with, here's the terms, take it down to the immigration office in St. Paul. Got those two things faxed back to the next hour. And the funniest part was, so now I take these guys, I take him, I said, whoever you want in the staff, so he takes a couple other guys. So 6 of us are having dinner in the restaurant, have about 6 bottles of wine. I get a tap on the shoulder from the guy, maitre d', all dressed up. And he's looking at me tapping, I says, cheesecake for everybody. And I keep talking, he taps me, I says, don't you understand cheesecake? We want cheesecake. And he keeps looking at me and tapping me. And Council says, Louis, that's a KGB. He says, and he says, hold on a second. So he pulls out the diplomatic passport in green. He said, with us, all of us. So the guy went away. So the next morning, now I got, Musil arrives. Now I got to get him a visa. I go to get him a visa, and the guy says, can't do a visa till 4 o'clock. And the consular guy says, I got you on a plane at 1 o'clock. So it's 10 o'clock. I slipped him some money. I said, okay, here. Now can I have a visa? Yeah, 10 minutes. So I got the visa. Now I got that Taurus car, right? So I go over to Hertz and I said, do you take cars here? Yeah, drop off, yeah. So I give him the keys, send me the bill. So he walks out, no, Italian car, can't take it. I said, here's the keys, I don't care if I own it. Because I was going to pay $250,000 to a guy to get him out. So Taurus at that time, maybe $8,000, I don't care. Yeah. So somebody owns a car, I'm out of there, that's all I know. So I gave him the keys. I got a bill a month later for $467 for the Taurus. So
really?
I didn't have to own it. That was good. And then I had him on the plane out of there. Now we land in London. Now the immigration people won't let him off the plane. And they said, no, he hasn't got a visa. I said, no, he's defecting. So he hasn't got a visa. We're not letting him off the plane. Tell you what, we'll take him in a holding area. You go up and get 2 seats on the next plane out of town. Went upstairs, and the Concorde was leaving in an hour and a half. So he and I got on the Concorde, and we flew back. We landed. FBI or some of the secrets or whatever met us at the plane. We didn't go through customs or anything. Wheeled us off from Kennedy to LaGuardia, and they flew us home.
Amazing.
Wow. I mean, this is my stuff. I mean, I can't tell you how much I've read about the Cold War and the aftermath of World War II itself. That's a novel right there.
You mentioned Rich Winter, the agent. It reminds me of the first time. It was like I was 21 years old. He was the first hockey agent. I had dealt with guys like Drew Rosenhaus covering the Dolphins. But Rich Winter was about the first hockey agent that I dealt with, and he had Esa Tikkanen. He had Robert Svale and a bunch of guys on the Panthers. But he had Esa Tikkanen. Tikkanen was on the Rangers. And that whole summer, Rich Winter is essentially leaking to me that, hey, Panthers, we're going to go. He wants to play in Florida. You got to get him on Florida. And so I'm basically I'm all excited. I'm getting all this for the first time. I'm a young kid, and an agent's just feeding me info, and he's just using me, and I'm writing it. And finally, I get a call one day from Brimer. He goes, Mike, can you do me a favor? He goes, we are going to sign Esa Tikkanen, but every time you put his name, you cost me an extra $100,000. So that's how I got the story. Sources say the Panthers are going to sign Esa Tikkanen at one point, and they signed him $1.8 million at that time on a 1-year deal. And that guy talk about I remember Brian basically he said to him, he goes, I wanted to give you this a contract to retire, but not while you were playing for us. So he was that bad for the Panthers. That guy was a beauty to cover. Yeah, I'm covering I'm covering Esa one day. And we're in the locker room in Pompano Beach at Gold Coast Ice Arena, which was their practice facility. And we're interviewing Scott Mellanby, and Mellanby whispers when you talk to him. He's kind of like Shaquille O'Neal that way. You cannot hear him. And so the music is on loud. And there's the three beat writers in the locker room, Scott Mellanby and Esa Tikkanen I think he was getting bag skated. And I go over to the sound system in the locker room. I turn off the music, and as I'm walking back, all of a sudden I hear this screaming and yelling in like a language I don't hear, and it's him screaming at me for turning down his sound system. He's like, "This is my radio," and I'm like, "I don't think so." But I ran to get the PR guy. And I'm like, "Can you get this guy out of here?" I can't remember why we had to talk to Mellanby. I think it was like they made him full-time captain for the first time, and we had to interview him, and Tikkanen's just going nuts. And I'm like, I even said to Tikkanen once when he was screaming at me, I'm like, Esa, I got you on this team, dude. Chill out here. We're buddies. So, the funny thing about the Ford Taurus thing that also popped in the head story. So when I was interviewing at the Star Tribune, which you know well, I was in Europe. And I was on the Sun Sentinel's dime in Europe on my BlackBerry. And the reason why is because the lockout ended and free agency. So I had this trip to Europe planned forever. And we never knew when the lockout was going to end. So the lockout ended in like early to mid-July, and free agency started like mid to late July, just oddity. And I'm in Europe, so I said to the Sun Sentinel, I'm like, hey, I'll just cover free agency from there. And they signed like Nieuwendyk and Gary Roberts and everything. But as I land in Paris to connect to London, I get the phone call from the Star Tribune that I want to interview there. So the whole trip in Europe, I'm basically interviewing for the job. I'm doing my due diligence about what it's like to live in Minnesota and all that stuff, asking advice, all this stuff. So about 2 months after I move here, after I took the job, I get this bill in the mail, and it's like AT&T. It's forwarded. AT&T bill says forward to Michael Russo, Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I open it up, and it's just a note from the Sun Sentinel. Mike, it's clear that you were interviewing for the job on our dime. Here's your bill for $800 and something. And so so I had to actually call the Sun Sentinel and essentially make a bargain deal with them. Like, look, you see that's Nieuwendyk's number, that's Robert's number. Yes, that's Minneapolis. Yes, that's. So I basically split my $800 bill with the Sun Sentinel that I was using on their dime. They basically leave them.
That's beautiful. Let's do one more segment. A reminder, we are at the Tin Shed in Savage. It's tinshedmn.com. Let me make sure I get that right. TINSHED.
Somebody's got to have a question for Louie here.
They're all intimidated, I think.
We've been telling Louie
here we go.
Get ready for this.
So
now.
Let me remind you about a couple specials here before we get our last couple of live questions here. Reminder, starting Monday, June 3rd, they're going to have buy one, get one free pizza Mondays. Kids 12 and under eat free every day, all day, every day. 50% off lunch deals Monday through Friday, 11 to 1. Entire food menu is 50% off with purchase of any beverage. New 2-for-1 happy hour Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 and 9 to close. That's 2 for 1 on pretty much everything. And they are home to the NFL Sunday Ticket, Buffalo Bills and Green Bay Packers fan clubs, pull tabs, 3 party rooms. We're in one of them right now. So great for events, birthday parties, team parties. Yes, sir.
UMD has won the last 2 national titles. How do the Gophers get back there?
Well, you got to give Moscow time now. They got to recruit properly, which Moscow will do. He's proven it at St. Cloud, and they have to recruit players that are going to stay around. UMD, one of the things they've been very fortunate. Guys stay committed, they stay with the program, and they're there for a while. You recruit talented players that stay around, and you get good. It's like anything else. Like we were talking about the Wild, you got to. You've had good times, you got to go through some bad times. When you take a look at this year's college championship, the NCAA, even regionals, and you don't have Minnesota, and you don't have Boston College, you don't have BU in it. A lot of the Michigan, you have a lot of these teams, great histories, not in it. It tells you how tough it is. So it takes time, and fortunately, it's good for college hockey. We're seeing the growth of college hockey where a lot of different teams are coming up and winning and making it a very attractive product to look at.
Good question. Thank you.
Anybody else have a question for Louie?
I'll throw it up to you. Each of you can give us a final thought. Michael hates final thoughts. That's why I make him do them.
How about I ask Louie a question for his final thought?
Deal.
Can you tell the plane crash story?
Oh, good Lord.
Well, years ago, 3 weeks after 9/11, my friend Rick Bourne he had a float plane, and we were going up the Giants Ridge to play golf. And so we were going up. We started with 8 people, and pretty soon we were down to 6. Of the 6, my son was one of them. Tom Chorsky was another. Johnny Johansson, Bob Roach, Rick Bourne, myself. So we're going up, and as we leave, it's a beautiful, clear day in Wayzata Bay. That's where we left from, and we start flying over Duluth. And I'm in a co-pilot seat because we don't have a co-pilot. And as we're getting close to Duluth, he's talking to the air controller in Duluth, and the guy says, over Lake Vermilion there, in that area, the clouds are very low. It's not very, you don't have a lot of visibility. So the guy says, okay, we're going in manually, visually, whatever, and he turns off. I hear this, and I say, hey, wait a minute, buddy. I said, I played in Iron Mountain there, just 20 minutes flight maybe to the east. They got a good golf course. We can go there. And Rick Bourne was on the hits that's behind me, and he's saying, "No, we can go to Brainerd too," and that. And I said, "Well, yeah, let's go somewhere different." And the guy says to me, "Louis," said, "you know hockey, I know flying. I have been 25 years a bush pilot in Alaska. I guess if I ever remember something, those were perfect words for him, bush pilot, because we get up there and we're going to fly and we're going to take a look." So we're in the clouds, and we come out of the clouds, and we're going to land on the water. And he says, "There's the dock." And I'm looking, I said, "I don't see any goddamn dock." And the next thing you know, we go back in the clouds. And I said, "Okay, let's get the hell out of here." He says, "One more look." I said, "How are you going to find it? I don't even know where we are now. We're in the clouds." So the next thing you know, we come around, and now he sees the dock, but we're going like a kamikaze pilot down there, and I had a shoulder operation, and I'm not thinking of dying or crashing that way. I'm thinking of how am I going to take this hit. So I'm looking around and I said, "Jesus Christ," I said, "we're not going to make it," which we didn't. and we went right into this dock. And now we're bouncing around, and then we hit something else. We hit sort of a rock pile that sort of crunched up the propeller, and then we hit something else, and now we stop, which I don't know what it is. Now, the plane's tilted to the right, and I'm sitting on the right side. So open my door, water comes in. So now I close it, everybody's screaming, "Let's get the hell out of here before it blows up." I'm not seeing anything because I'm trying to figure again, am I going to be able to swim? What do I got to do here? And now everybody's bailing out. I can't get my seatbelt off. So again, I'm not even thinking of dying. I'm thinking, I got to get the hell out of here. But I can't get out, and so I grabbed the pilot by the shoulder. "Hey, buddy, before you go, undo the seatbelt." So he undoes the seatbelt, and I get off, and I see one pontoon has been ripped off, the other pontoon's bent underneath, and we're right by the shore. We did another dock, and 50 yards in front of us are 3 gas tanks. And now, as I'm walking on the pontoon, I say, "God damn it, now we got to drive home." I hate driving. And so one of the guys says, "For Christ's sake, Louis, at least we're going home." I never thought about that at the time, so I thought that's a good idea. That's a good thing to do. So as I'm getting off, we were so close to town, like Gilbert, that somebody on the beach said they saw us. That we might hit some trees or something. They thought it was going to be a crash. Already had called the fire department, the medics, and everything. So as I'm walking, you get into a canoe, and like there was a canoe right there, so you just get in the canoe and then step over the side and you're in shore. And I'm sort of limping, and the woman says to me, don't move, you're hurt." I said, "Lady, I've been hurt all my life. I don't know what happened now." But she said, "Not a joke." I said, "I'm telling you it's not a joke. I got a bad shoulder, I got bad knees." I said, "Don't tell me." So I looked at everybody, and there's 5 guys there, and one of the guys pissed his pants, and the guys were worried, and they're all nervous. "What are we going to do now?" And I looked at him. I said, "Look, we came to play golf. Our golf clubs are right behind the seat, so they're the only things dry. Everything else is wrecked in the whole plane." I said, "We're going to play golf. If I can't beat you today, I'll never beat you." And you know what was funny? My son shot 69. He had 5 birdies. He made $350. I made 50, and the other 4 guys all laughed. And when we went up to the first tee, because one guy had bailed out coming right before, so we never told everybody, that we're 6, not 7. So I'm putting my ball in the hole. I'm first on the ground. I'm first, and this old guy, probably my age now, leans over. He says, "Where's the other guy?" I said, "He died in a plane crash." He went white. So wouldn't you know it, I hit the ball first. I hook it into the woods. It hits a tree, comes right back in the middle of the fairway. I turn around and says, "Boys, let's go get a lottery ticket. This is our day today."
Wasn't there part of the story that also that you guys didn't call home and there was news had broken back here? And
well, no, what happened was, after the crash, before we got our tea time, then the guy from the clubhouse, they're talking about it. And at first, we're close to 9/11, so people didn't realize if this was tied into somebody else crashing a plane or what's going on, and then they hear I'm on the plane. So the guy comes to me and says, "Louis, there's a lot of people from the media want to come out and talk to you. There's a TV station, radio station." Oh, geez, I'm going to call my wife right away. So I called my wife and I said, "Francine," I said, "we're just going out to play golf, but we're okay, but we had a plane crash." "That's not funny." I said, "You think a plane crash is funny?" "No, it's not funny, but it's real." She said, "Why do you talk like that?" I said, "Francine, we had a plane crash, but we're living. Everybody's okay, but you're going to hear about it." And so we did. We went out out in the course. The TV guys were coming out and doing interviews on the course, this and that. And unfortunately, some of it got reported wrong because Bill Torrey, who was a very close friend of mine, general manager of the Islanders in Florida. He passed away last year, but it was reported wrong down in Palm Beach where we have a place, and they reported that I had died. And so Bill called, and he was, that's where it reported wrong.
Yeah.
But, when you go back...
And I lived in Florida at the time, so that's what I'm thinking of.
So what's, fortunate for us, when you find out about it, 95% of the people that have a crash in a float plane die. And the next week, 4 people died in Indianapolis in a float plane crash. So we were very lucky. And the good part about it is now, like I was in Toronto a couple of years later, and I saw a young girl sitting there very nervous, and I went over, I said, "You okay?" She said, "No." I said, "Where are you from?" She's St. Paul, but I go to school here in Toronto. I said, "Well, what's the matter?" She said, "I'm afraid of flying." I said, "You're a lucky day." She said, "Why?" I said, "Because I've had a plane crash." I said, "Nobody has 2 plane crashes, so you're going to be fine."
Great stuff from Louis. Reminder, we have the ticket giveaway up here. We have the suggestion box up here. Thank you to all our sponsors. Thank you to all of you for showing up. We really appreciate it. Unless you guys have another great freaking story you want to tell real quick, I'll just ask everybody to give these gentlemen a round of applause, please. Thank you, Louis. Appreciate you coming out, sir. Thank you.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
Buckle up, because Metro is bringing you the best deal in wireless. Switch to Metro and get your choice of 2 awesome free phones from top brands like Samsung and LG with huge HD screens and tons of memory for all your pics and videos. So hurry into Metro and get your awesome free phones only at Metro. Plus sales tax and activation fee. Requires port-in of eligible number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. Limit 4 per account or household. Restrictions apply. See store for details and terms and conditions.
From the kids to Aunt Sue, keep your whole family connected on all their devices with crowd-pleasing gig speed internet from Xfinity. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Go online, call 1-800-XFINITY or visit today. Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed.